So how do we integrate this content? And integration is a word that's highly overused, but it's certainly something we understand. It's like, how do things kind of link together, right? So the idea is your content does not exist all by itself. It's not in a vacuum. The existing business processes and tools, they need to play nice with that content, especially if we start to see the content, I know I do, as the kind of the center of the universe for the business, and the business kind of evolving around that. You might not see it that way, but certainly the content is very central to a lot of business processes, especially with regards to like things like your digital marketing and your website. So let's kind of open this up a little bit for what we want to do. We want to be able to associate our content with external data. We already talked to you a little bit about this, right? We can link it or we can sync it. Well, what is that? It could be our commerce products. A lot of times it's legacy data, just stuff that's been hanging around that's is kind of stuck in our back office, and we need to expose that and bring it forward.
And we'll get to that and fix it up sometime. But right now, we just need to get that working.
It could be proprietary data. So data that has, for some legitimate business process, it's valuable to your organization. And you want to like bring that forward either on your website or in an app or in some front end in some way. A lot of times now this is a fairly common term, a content warehouse or a content hub. So that's just associating content with other content. Which is really, really useful if you have like multiple websites, multiple apps, places, or multiple business units that you want to maintain, or business partners that you want to work with. That's a great situation where we want to look at maybe setting up sort of central content repository where you link all these things together and have them make sense for all those different teams to work together. Those are just some examples, by the way. There's lots of other ways to kind of associate content and kinds of content that we can associate. But the second part of this is we want to orchestrate this content. And this is a huge sort of term on itself. There are literally businesses where that is the product that they sell, is some kind of orchestration. But the idea is we want to make this content available to other systems in the format that they need it in. It could be for a CRM. So, I talked about message templates before. That's one of the things that CRM send. That's marketing automation and CRM. But just, however you're like, people have Salesforce. Salesforce can mean a million things, right? So marketing automation and CRM are two big ones where we want to associate that content and move it into there. And then that system will do something with the content before it creates something like an email message or a text message to actually send out to a user. So content can participate in that kind of orchestration. A lot of tools right now, their orchestration is essentially a GraphQL proxy, where it's bringing together a bunch of APIs and giving you a single API that then you can use. And those are super powerful, super useful. And I think a lot of times too, internal development teams just build their own. I know some of our customers have done that as well, where they build their own orchestration and make their own essentially API layer that they can then use for their front ends.
One thing I'll add here, Joel, is that content platforms, CMS, more legacy CMSs can all be in here, so you can bring content from multiple platforms, content platforms, CMSs, DXPs, all these older, larger systems. All those can be orchestrated together. So as always, a lot of people we hear it all the time. People are like, we want to move to one standard platform, or we want to do whatever. But the orchestration and how things are moving doesn't make that as critical that you have to do it all at once. You can add in a new platform that maybe works better for your business today, maintain your old one, and orchestrate those things together over time as maybe you decide, we want to make one consistent system for usability, consistency, just less platforms to worry about. But it isn't like switch everything over, shut off the old one like it used to be. Orchestration and bringing these things together is becoming much easier with GraphQL and some of these platforms where you can query across multiple.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the end goal is to get some kind of output. We want to put this content and send it to a place. Most commonly is a website or more websites. And that's interesting to think about, that one piece of content could, drive to multiple websites. It could be something as simple as a marketing message at the bottom or some sort of other corporate messaging, but it could be anything that we define as content, and then it's used. We just think of the website as an output. Mobile apps, another obvious one. We need to make that consistent with the content that's on other places as well. Messaging, so that could be email messaging to SMS messaging, things like that. We want to make sure that content is part of our content workflows, and orchestration can help set that up. digital displays, smart TV apps, these are becoming more and more common as outputs, and they're becoming as common as a mobile app. I do put them in a different category, but they're the same kind of technology to enable that, even though we might think of them differently. So these are all just different kinds of ways that our content can be displayed to that end user, but we have to think about how we're going to perform the integrations to get it there. And there's a lot to think about as we're kind of architecting that as part of this overall kind of architecture and infrastructure.